Rajiv, we have got Rajiv Singh here, who was going to ask you about what we were talking about regional connectivity because he's based in Calcutta. So he has more concerns about that. Rajiv, please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, Mr. Singh.
Hi, Rajiv.
So basically, Udan has been great success, and ICC is basically very, very active in Northeast and East, although we have offices in Bombay, Delhi. But in view of the uncertainty and the COVID, do you think it is going to impact Udan? And also, we are aware that the regional connectivity with Southeast and Southeast Asian countries also has gone up in recent past. And when India talks of Act East, I think this connectivity is extremely important. So how do you really look at the future in terms of the Udan, the connectivity, whether these routes will be profitable still? Just wanted.
I think Udan, like as I said earlier, has been one of the most successful schemes of the government of India, and it's also a scheme very beloved of our Prime Minister, and one of those which is extremely politically popular because you suddenly had all these MPs and MLAs and chief ministers from these states, participating in the scheme. I think it's also a fantastic example of cooperative federalism. The way the government has designed it, in that the state governments and the center both contribute to the scheme in various ways. So I think there's no chance that the scheme will be adversely impacted by COVID. The scheme will go on and be expanded. I think in some cases we'll have to work out some of the economics because a lot of the money for the scheme was really coming from the tax that all the airlines were paying on tickets, which was going into a fund. And of course, that flying is not happening anymore. So that fund actually is getting depleted. So government will have to find some way of funding it, I would think. But it's still one of the beloved schemes, and I doubt that gets dropped because it's a lifeline also for so many small centers. In terms of Act East, certainly there are going to be more flights towards the east. Of course, for some time there will not be international flights. But let me tell you that from the perspective of cargo flights, and we are operating close to 70 cargo flights every day at this time. A large majority of those are actually going to the east. We have created a hub in Calcutta, and we have flights going to China, to Philippines, to Hong Kong, to Myanmar, to Malaysia, and Indonesia. So all sorts of destinations, and even I think today a flight to Korea. So we are using Calcutta as that hub because it just makes sense. We can fly directly from Calcutta into Shanghai, and Calcutta into Guangzhou, which we can't do really from Delhi. So I think there's great potential in this whole Act East. Certainly, massive potential.
Thank you.
Ajay, I want to put another question to you. Before concluding our discussion here, what do you expect from the government in the next 1 and 2 years to make international aviation industry one of the global leaders? Because we don't have an airline like Singapore Airlines or Etihad or that kind of brand. We don't have. Air India was one of the best brands. It still is one of the best brands. It has been killed by the Babudam rather than anybody else. So what do you think? When can India have we have got the best international airports now because of good policies of this government and the previous government together. But now this government is investing much more in building new aircraft and bringing in new aircraft and also putting airports together. But we are all looking at it. Once we go to the airport, we feel, okay, we are also in good airports and domestic airports. What do you expect from Indian government to make civil aviation sector the most globally competitive one?
I think, firstly, we need to make sure that we stop taxing aviation industry to death. We have to stop believing that this is somehow rich man's travel and needs to be taxed so heavily. That's number one. I think number two, the government is already doing this, creating world-class infrastructure in the country in terms of airports, etc. Number three, I think, countries around the world, and we've seen it through this crisis, really support their home carriers. They support their home carriers and make sure that their carriers get access into markets on a preferential basis. So we need the government to work along with us to make that happen, and everybody does it. Look at what Singapore does all the time for their carrier, or the Gulf Airlines do for their carriers. It's clear that there is strong state encouragement and support which is provided to carriers. But I think most importantly,
Are you talking in terms
Prabhu,
of yeah,
Prabhu,
sorry,
we
complete.
really need to look at the entire system bottom up. How do we train our pilots? Those schools are in bad shape. How do we make sure that those are good? How do we make sure our engineering schools are good? So it's a whole infrastructure. We have a historic opportunity in India. We can create engineers for not only for India, but for the rest of the world. We can create pilots not only for India, but for the rest of the world. We can create global hubs and we can create global airlines. We can do it. There is no way. I mean, have you ever traveled in the US? See how poor that quality of service is compared to what happens in India. We can create the best airlines in this country. We just need a little bit of a level playing field. Nobody is asking for more than that. Give us a level playing field and see the difference that makes.
Ajay, go ahead, Shankar.
Ajay, I have a here and now question, which is, the US carriers are losing roughly $200 million a day. Indian carriers are grounded. Currently, Jet Airways went past all efforts to revive them. So, and the government today has unveiled some packages for airports, for aviation. Aviation, people don't realize, is also one of the largest direct and indirect employers in terms of 3-level, 4-level tier employment, indirect employment. Is there a proposal that airlines and aviation industry people have put together to the government? Is there any response? Do you have a number on what needs to be done? I understand that these issues of taxation and airport infrastructure and training schools are important, but they're like the day after tomorrow issues. But the today and tomorrow issues are really how you keep the aircraft flying. I mean, this is a very vital infrastructure.
So to your here and now question, of course, there have been consultations with the Civil Aviation Ministry, and the Civil Aviation Ministry, after consulting the airlines, has proposed to the Finance Ministry certain measures that can be taken to preserve the here and now. Now, what the government decides to do beyond that is really up to them. What the Finance Ministry or the government decides to do is really up to them. But to your question, yes, certainly the industry has proposed certain measures. But let me also say this, that Indians and companies like us, like SpiceJet, are a very resilient lot. We will find a way to make it through this crisis. Government help will be very, very welcome. But if we don't get it, we will still do our utmost to find a way out of this. Because, unlike in other countries, our people are strong and very resilient. People take salary cuts, people take furloughs, and do it willingly and still come back to work at a day's notice, and work really passionately. I don't think that's a resource that most countries around the world.
There's no doubt about the resilience, Ajay. I mean, obviously, if in the midst of all this crisis, Rahul Bhatia of Indigo is going and trying to bid for Virgin Australia, that's a sign of that kind of entrepreneurial process. I don't know. I mean, what's your view on whether that is a smart move or not, and whether you had considered it?
No, I don't want to comment on what Indigo may be doing, but in general, if Indian carriers go out and acquire foreign carriers, I think it's a good thing. Why not?
So you mentioned that there was a package that Civil Aviation Ministry had put together and some proposals. Can you share? Are those details shareable? Is there a number there?
No, I don't think I should share those details. I mean, we don't even know exactly what the Civil Aviation Ministry has put in front of the Finance Ministry. There is a proposal which has been made by airlines to the Civil Aviation Ministry, and beyond that, it's for them to take. We were told that that package was in discussion with the Finance Ministry.
What was the airline proposal?
I don't really want to comment on that. Those are confidential documents and discussions with the ministry.
I'll ask the question on that, because I guess you will not put it, because the question, there is always the allegation that airlines try to free the passenger when the traffic is much more. the 235 million passengers traveling every year, you guys are sometimes overcharging. A Delhi ticket, Jaipur to Delhi, I flew once. How did I pay? 18,000 rupees for a 40-minute flight. So sometimes you also try to exploit that. That's why public opinion is created against you, because you always want favor from the government in terms of tax concession. When it comes to the passengers, when you see the demand is going up, you try to charge from 4,000 to 18,000 rupees.
Okay,
Is that the difference between it when the demand goes up, that prices go up by 500%? I haven't seen that kind of economics.
Prabhu, firstly, if what you were saying was true and we were just fleecing customers, all airlines would have been making money for all these years. In fact, in the last 10 or 15 years, I can only count 1 or 2 years in which airlines would have made money. Every other year they lose money. That's number one. Number two, let me tell you that when I was a student and I was in school and I used to fly on Air India from Delhi to Bangalore, I used to pay 10 or 12,000 rupees to do that. And this was a good 30 years ago. So today, after 30 years, the average fare between Delhi and Mumbai is 4,000 rupees. Now, if you think that is excessive, dynamic pricing is something which happens around the world. You start by selling tickets at perhaps 1,000 rupees or 1,500 rupees, which is less than what you would pay to go from your home to Delhi's airport, or from Bombay airport back to wherever you're going. So you start by paying little, and as you go beyond, you start paying more as the demand picks up. Let me tell you also that there was a study which was done by DGCA last year, when the MPs made a lot of many complaints about all this, right? DGCA did a study and found, it's on the website, you can take a look at it, that these so-called 5x or 6x type fares amounted to less than 1% of all the fares sold by Indian carriers in 2019. Please take a look at that.
But Ajay, tell us, that's what I want to understand. With 230 million passengers, demand is going up by 13%, record growth in 1980-89. The Indian aviation service passenger traffic went up by 13%, which has never happened in anywhere. The United States was only 5% during that period. China was less than 5%. Even after that kind of situation, you don't find it is a profitable business for you. What is the reason for that? I want to understand.
The reason for that is massive taxation, and the reason for that is huge costs, which are out of line with what is happening globally. And the reason for that, of course, is hyper competition. No question about it. There is, what happens for us is that the airports where we are flying, really, like you said, like Delhi, Mumbai, there are 80 flights. There's hyper competition. So the fares remain on average extremely low, and the costs are, really high. So you have to be extremely efficient. But the flip side of that is that Indian carriers have learned to be extremely efficient. You give us a level playing field and you see what we do to foreign carriers.
But why are you going 18 flights? You can withdraw from Bombay 20 flights.
No,
it is you are going there. Nobody has forced you to go there.
Of course. And those adjustments.
If you want to go to loss-making competition, you are 6 airlines in India at the moment. For 230 passengers, you might say they are too many. For others, maybe less. The question is 230 passengers, which is likely to go up to 300 million in next 2 years. That was the anticipation earlier. Not we don't know after COVID what happens. If 300 million passengers are going to fly, 6 airlines with about 690 aircraft, you may be buying more. I know you are going to buy more. Everybody is going to buy more. So out of these 6, Air India is not able to compete with you because they have very less than 10% of the market left with. And it is privatized. Whether it will be privatized now, we don't know. Air India, Indigo, SpiceJet, Vistara, Air Asia, Go Air, all of you are competing there for the same slot because you are going to, as you say, you are losing because in Bombay you are flying. Why didn't you fly the route which are making profit?
Oh, certainly. I mean, that adjustment keeps happening, Prabhu. It is happening. And of course, so airlines from their perspective, of course, have to diversify, find different sources of revenue, have to try and reduce their cost. At the same time, this massive burden that we have, which no airline anywhere around the world has, that needs to be fixed as well. I mean, it's not that it's all the government and their taxation. It's also us. We have to find more efficient aircraft to fly. We have to fly at a lower cost. We have to fly, routes which are going to make money. We need to make sure the pricing is rational and not crazy. But these things are taking time. But the future, I still believe, despite all this, the reason that we are all in this, and that you look, interested enough to get into the aviation business, Prabhu, is because there is a bright future ahead.
No, I'm just saying in aviation business, what you are saying, and our newspaper business is same. More you circulate, more you lose. Like you fly more, you are also losing that way. Your economics also is wonky economics that way, if I understand. But if you are saying what I understood, because of the government taxation policy is such that you are not able to compete. Is that a reason, one of the reasons for which you are suffering losses or not able to make profit?
Yeah, I think definitely one of the reasons that
Important reasons.
It's one of the reasons. Certainly, the fact that airport charges are so high is also one of the reasons. Why should the charges at Indian airports? Let me give you some just an example. I mean, today we are being charged what is called a infra charge at an airport. You know what this infra charge is? This infra charge is a charge for storing fuel at an airport. So there is a tank. You store fuel in that tank, and that fuel is dispensed to the airplanes. Now the tank costs about 20 or 25 crores to build.
Mm-hmm.
You know how much we are being charged for that tank? We are being charged 300 crores a year. Look at the business.
At the airport, by the airport owners.
The airport, by a company which has been created by the airport and the oil companies. I mean, I can give you tens of examples of this sort where extortionate charges are being levied and ultimately being paid by the airlines and by the customer. Look at this business that you spend 25, 30 crores on building an asset and make from that asset 250 or 300 crores a year. What is the logic of all this?
Airports are also owned by the private entrepreneurs like you. Some of them.
No.
Airports.
But these are historic problems in the system. You know, there was something called a throughput charge. When we went to ask them, we said, what is this throughput charge? Why are you charging us? There is no service against this charge. They said it's like, what do you say? It's like a hafta. It's like a hafta. You come to my airport, you pay. And these are large sums of money. They get added to the price of fuel. On top of that, then you charge, the state tax, and you charge a central excise duty. So it gets compounded by that tax as well. So all these structures need to get fixed.
The airlines are called extortionists, and you're calling the other people extortionists. So civilization is basically caught between so many extortionists.
I think this has been a very
but we are all still a vital service.
You're still smiling out.
we are vital to the economy, Prabhu, and you can certainly afford to pay your 18,000 rupees for your ticket.
I can't afford to pay, but yes, company can afford to pay. Anyways, Shankar, yeah, go ahead.
Rajiv, do you have any other concerns you want to add, or otherwise it's been a very good engagement. Ajay has been, as usual, very candid and very combative.
He expressed himself without fear and favor.
Without favor and favor.
Absolutely. It has been absolutely a pleasure being part of it.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rajiv. Thank you, Rajiv.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.